And now for something completely different.
Hi, my name is Annie Grossman, and I'm a dog trainer. This podcast is brought to you by School for the Dogs, a Manhattan-based facility I own and operate along with some of the city's finest dog trainers. During this podcast, we'll be answering your questions, geeking out on animal behavior, discussing pet trends, and interviewing industry experts. Welcome to School for the Dogs podcast. So I am here today with Joe Frenny of Boston, and he is the human who belongs to a Boston Terrier named Lenny. And Joe got in touch with me because he wanted to tell me a little bit about Lenny, and I was intrigued because it turns out both Joe and Lenny are kind of both professional, physical, perfect specimens. Lenny competes in dog shows, and Joe competes in what you might call human shows. He is a bodybuilder and a world champion power lifter. Of course, you don't normally encounter bodybuilders in the dog show ring, at least as far as I know. So I wanted to learn more, and Joe, thanks so much for taking the time to talk today. Why don't you introduce us to your dog, Lenny?
So for anyone who's never met Lenny, he is a fantastic little Boston Terrier. He is named after Leonard Nimoy, aka Spock in Star Trek, due to the pointy ears and the fact that we're huge Star Trek nerds, my wife and I. And
you know what's funny is I almost named my dog Lenny after Lenny Briscoe on Law and Order.
Oh, no way.
And I also once met another dog named Lenny, named after Leonard Bernstein.
That's awesome.
So there's lots of dogs named Lenny named after other people, it seems.
Yeah, and Leonard Nimoy is also from Boston, which we thought was really cool. So Lenny is 6.5 years old. We got Lenny as a puppy, about 10 weeks old, I believe. And my wife actually got him. She completely surprised me with Lenny. Had no idea that we were getting him. I've always loved Boston Terriers, and we actually had 3 Boston Terriers prior to Lenny, so they were all rescues. And this was our first Boston Terrier from a breeder.
What is it about Bostons that you like so much?
There's such great little dogs. They're awesome. They're phenomenal companions. They're really athletic. They can be really crazy at times. They're like little gremlins, don't feed them after midnight and don't get them wet. They're also really, really sweet dogs. They're very, very affectionate. I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds, and I actually never grew up with dogs. I only had dogs once I met my wife. And once we had a condo and we had a place of our own, we rescued Boston Terriers, and just absolutely fell in love with them. And getting Lenny has really been one of the greatest things in my life. Honestly, we've been through a lot together in the 6.5 years that we've had him. And I just feel like he's made me a better person. Honestly, it sounds kind of silly, but I just feel like he brings so much happiness and unconditional love, to myself and the rest of my family. And it's just really brightens my day. And now I've been able to, over the last several years, I've been able to continue building our really strong bond together by competing in different organizations, different sports, together as a team. And like I said, Bostons are just so versatile, and that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love them. I see a lot of similarities between like Lenny and myself. My wife points it out all the time. She says that we're like twins. It's kind of funny.
How did you first get involved in dog sports with Lenny?
We decided to start showing Lenny in the AKC in the puppy class. So we started competing with him at about 6 months old.
And what made you decide to do that?
Sure. So So one, we had full registration rights, of course, to show Lenny for one.
Does that mean you bought him from an AKC approved breeder? Is that how it works?
Yes, that is correct. So there's different types of contracts when you purchase a puppy from an AKC approved breeder, and we had full registration rights to be able to show Lenny. The dog cannot be neutered, so all males showing in the AKC as show dogs cannot be neutered, right? So they're intact, if you will. So we just thought Lenny was a really exceptional looking Boston Terrier, in terms of how close to breed standard, he was. And the breed standard, when I say that, each dog breed within the AKC, that's a AKC breed, has a Club of America. So you have like the Boston Terrier Club of America, and over the years they've kind of refined what they have as a, or what they consider breed standard, right? It's kind of like the model dog, right? Like in terms of appearance and behavior and things like that. So, and once I start talking about dog shows, that's what you're trying to show the judge, that your dog is as close to breed standard as possible. You're not necessarily competing against the other dogs. You're really trying to show the judge how close your dog is to breed standard.
So judges are looking for dogs that conform to the breed standard, that have the right shape, the right size, and all that stuff is pretty precise. There's kind of this ideal Boston, right, that they're looking for. But there's more to it than that. Am I right?
AKC dog shows are subjective in that there's a judge, and it's not like an agility, contest or a fast cat contest where if you're the fastest, if you have the fastest time, you win. It's not objective, it's subjective, right? So yes, personality certainly, has a lot to do with, who the judge will pick, in terms of, considering a dog best of breed or best in group or best in show. Personality definitely has a lot to do with it. If the dog really looks like they want to be there and they're very happy, I think that definitely goes a long way. If they're working really well, kind of working hand in hand, almost like a dance team, right, with their owner, or either with their owner handler or the professional handler, I think that also has a lot to do with the judging. But yes, the judge is looking at each dog to see how closely they resemble the breed standard that is set forth by each dog's Club of America within the AKC. Now they're looking for, in terms of like bone structure and all sorts of different things in terms of color. Of course, there are certain colors that are not allowed to be shown in the AKC, kind of disqualified colors for a dog. So you have to pass that criteria in order to be eligible to compete in a show. They're also looking for, when you put your dog up on the table, they'll have you show the judge the dog's bite. They want to see how the teeth look, how the structure of that is, how close to that, to the breed standard that's set forth by the group, they resemble, right? So it's actually very similar. It's kind of funny. So I compete in bodybuilding, and there's a lot of similarities between the two, because again, you're not competing against the other guys, or gals in the competition. You're competing to show the judge how close you are to the criteria that they set within each category.
See, that's so interesting, because what's honestly kind of weird to me is this idea that there really is like a perfect Boston Terrier.
That's exactly right. So in terms of Boston Terriers, for like official standards, there's the general appearance that they have. They're making sure that the Boston Terrier, is smooth coated, short headed, compact. Like Lenny is about 15 pounds. He's very nice, short and compact. He has a short tail, which they're looking for. A well balanced dog. So Lenny's very athletic. He's very muscular. He not only competes in the AKC show ring in conformation, but also has titles on the other end in performance. So he's very, very athletic. But he also looks very presentable. In the show ring. They're looking for, in terms of color for Boston Terrier, they're looking for brindle, seal, or black in color, and evenly marked with white. So, for example, Lenny has like a really nice big chest that is almost completely white. That is nice and a nice bright and white color, and that's why they're called the American gentleman, right? It looks like they're wearing a tuxedo 24/7, right? So they're always dressed to impress, and that's partly what the judge is looking for. They're looking for to make sure that the head is in proportion to the size of the dog, and the expression that the Boston Terriers have. They're looking for a high degree of intelligence, basically. So very nice and showy, and let's see, the limbs have to be very strong and neatly turned. Like I said, the tail is short, and no feature is so like dominant or prominent, if you will, that the dog appears badly proportioned, right? So they should show strength and activity, and I would say the top 4 things are like expression, color, and white markings, as well as balance. In terms of the general appearance, and then there's other things, like size, proportion, that there's the weight is divided in different classes. Like there's under 15 pounds, 15 pounds, and under 20 pounds, I believe, and then 20 pounds not to exceed 25 pounds. So Lenny's like right, he could go either way. He could be under 15 pounds, or he could be right at like a little over 15 pounds.
So did you start doing bodybuilding before or after you started showing Lenny?
So let's see, 6 years. Actually, so we started showing Lenny before I got into bodybuilding.
And how did you then get into bodybuilding? Did one thing relate to the other?
Right. So I definitely had, went through a tough time in my life in 2013, 2014, I would say. And I had always been really, healthy and really athletic, and things kind of degraded during those few years due to a number of factors. Things that I eventually was able to change because, one, because I wanted to, I needed to make some drastic changes. And in 2015 is right at the start of 2015 is when I was like, okay, I need to make some changes, especially to, both my physical and mental health. I got back in the gym and signed up for the Gold's Gym Challenge, which is a national competition. So it's to see who can make the most drastic change in terms of both physical and mental health. And I was actually the winner at my gym. So it was a 3-month competition. And that really got me started on kind of my fitness journey, if you will. And after that, I had always worked at gyms when I was in high school and when I was in college. I always read the magazines, the Muscle and Fitness and the Flex magazines. I always wanted to be on stage. Always wanted to be like those guys. And I never thought that I could do it. So at the end of that competition, the Gold's Gym Challenge, I said, you know what, I'm going to set another goal for myself. This one's going to be a stretch goal, and I'm going to set it to October of 2015. So I registered. I paid for the bodybuilding show in October of 2015, and at that point, I was like, okay, well, there's no going back. I've already paid for it. I've already committed, and I put it online, telling people that I'm going to do it. And I just felt that was the best thing that I could have done. I just, I put it out there to the world that I was going to do it, and I trained and I ate properly. I stuck to I stuck to my diet really well. I trained almost every single day, and I was just super dedicated to it. And I actually got up on stage in October 2015 in the NPC, which is like I would say the top bodybuilding organization that there is, and then found my true passion in powerlifting as well. So I'm not only a bodybuilder now, but I'm also I was definitely more successful in powerlifting. So now I'm a 3-time world powerlifting champion.
Wow. Well, do you think that working with Lenny has helped you compete as a power lifter? Are the two related in any way?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a lot of similarities between the two, which sounds silly, but it's really true in terms of similarities between bodybuilding and dog showing. There's a lot of preparation, leading up to the show. You have to make sure that you or your dog's nutrition is on point, that you're exercising regularly, that you're staying healthy, that you're continuing to groom yourself properly, especially in bodybuilding. It's there's a lot of like spray tanning the day of the show or the day before the show, and you just got to make sure that everything's looking as
Hold on, is there like a dog equivalent of spray tanning I don't know about?
No, I mean there's like chalk that people use, like there's like white chalk that that people use to like accentuate the white on a dog's coat, or there's and there's a lot of brushing that goes along with dog showing. I mean, you see.
Is that allowed? Chalk? Is chalk allowed?
I believe so, yes.
What about Sharpies?
Sharpies? I
Do you need to make the black a little darker?
I've probably seen that before. We don't do it, but I've seen it. I've definitely seen it before. There's a lot of things that I've seen that are kind of questionable. Same goes for bodybuilding as well. I'm sure you can only imagine what goes on during those shows. Like, for example, like in the NPC, they don't test for steroids, for example, right? So that's actually kind of the reason why I got out of that organization, because I don't do any illegal
Said you don't do any illegal stuff.
I don't use any performance enhancing supplements. So that's why I've transitioned from one organization to another, not to take anything away from that organization, because they are the top. It's just that the other organization that I compete in, which is called the OCB, it's a fully tested organization of competitive bodybuilding. So you have to take a lie detector test before the show, as well as a urine test as well, to make sure that you're not taking any performance enhancing supplements or drugs, and that kind of everyone is competing on the same plane or the same level, right?
You have to take a lie detector test?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. Huh. Has Lenny had any part in your participation in these kinds of shows?
In terms of bodybuilding and powerlifting, like, has he been present?
Yeah. Or do you do any
not.
lifting that is like, I don't know. I guess lifting him is probably probably not.
We actually have some video of. So I do in terms of powerlifting, I only do strict curl powerlifting. So that's where I get the 3-time world champion.
What is strict curl? I don't know what that is.
Sure. So strict curl powerlifting is so you have to stand up against a platform that you have to make sure that your head, your back, and your butt are all touching that platform at all times. And there's an easy curl bar. I'm sure you've seen those at the gym, right? So it's not like a straight bar, but it's got the curves in it.
Okay.
And you have to take that bar off of a platform, and you select your weight prior, and then you get 3 attempts to successfully lift this curl bar. Depending on how much weight you have to curl it. You take the curl bar off the rack. You go up against the platform, and there's 3 judges. There's two side judges to make sure that those 3 points don't come off of the platform, and then there's a head judge. The head judge, when he sees that you're ready, when you're at a dead hang, when you're holding the bar all the way down with no bend in your arm. It gives you the curl command. You have to curl the weight up. You have to be in control of it. Once you have control, he'll give you the down command. You bring the weight down in a controlled fashion. And once you have done that, then he'll give you the rack command. And you have to get off the platform and you have to re-rack the weight that you just lifted. And if you get a successful green light or white light from all three judges, indicating a successful lift, then that lift is considered successful.
What's funny, of course, is like I feel like if you're someone who's really built and you're in these kinds of competitions, people must compare you to a show dog. Like that seems like a stereotype sort of thing to say, but maybe there's something kind of to it.
Exactly. So in terms of bodybuilding, I see where there's stereotypes in both sports, in both powerlifting and bodybuilding. So I think your stereotypical powerlifter, right, would be considered not very, defined or very muscular, or just more kind of a larger person, right, with a lot of strength. And then it's the opposite for bodybuilders, in that they're all show and no go, or no strength, right?
Okay.
And that's where, I definitely try to kind of break those stereotypes in competing in both, because I truly enjoy doing both, and I want to show people that you can do whatever you want to do. If it makes you happy, if it's, if you're passionate about it, and if you have any skill in it, then you should put 100% into those things. And that's what I do. So not only a powerlifter, but a bodybuilder, and I think I kind of break the mold a little bit as well in terms of showing dogs, in terms of showing Lenny as well.
Yeah, it's certainly not the stereotype that comes to mind. I tend to picture like middle-aged women in skirt suits at these kinds of shows. Now, I understand you went to Westminster this year. So what was the process of getting to that kind of level of competition?
The way that we got into it is that, so if you are, the top 5 dogs in each AKC breed, in terms of points for the year, they are automatically invited to the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show every single year. In addition to that, if your dog is an AKC champion or above, then they are eligible to sign up to compete at the Westminster Dog Show.
So which category did Lenny fall into?
So Lenny fell into the second category. Lenny is an AKC Grand Champion, however, so he has gone, when we started showing him, we eventually were able to get him to his AKC championship. And then once we had additional points and additional majors on Lenny, then he obtained his AKC Grand Championship.
Are there financial gains in all of this, or is it more about financial losses?
So I think there's kind of two sides to that. So one, we do not stand to make any money from showing Lenny. We're not planning on breeding him or anything like that. We do not breed Boston Terriers. However, there are a lot of people who show in the AKC who are breeders, and they are able, if they want to, they can spend money on ads within magazines that the judges see, which may help them, in the show ring, kind of.
People buy ads in advance to encourage judges to think good things about their dogs? Absolutely. And that's allowed?
Yes.
Huh, okay. Do you have thoughts about that?
That's like the $1 million question. If it's allowed, which it is, then people are, people can do whatever they want. Of course, I wanted to. We did not spend any money this year on ads for Lenny going to Westminster. We've trained really, really hard. We have a fantastic relationship both inside and outside the ring, and I wanted to show everybody that that you can do it without, without any, expensive ads or anything like that.
What are the names of these publications? I'm just curious that they're taking ads out in.
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure what the publications are.
You don't subscribe?
No.
Are there in the world of Boston Terriers then, are there like certain people that you know of who seem like they're spending a lot of money on ads to promote their dogs to judges?
So there are professional handlers, and then there are owner handlers. So professional handlers are paid to show these dogs, and a lot of the time, the dogs will stay with those professional handlers to help build the relationships, which I think is fantastic. And the professional handlers make a living showing all types of breeds of dogs according to their expertise. And they travel, some of them travel, the world or the country, or even just their region, if you will, at different dog shows. And I've met a lot of them, and a lot of them are really fantastic people, and they're super, kind of, consummate professionals. And I mean, I think the dog show community as a whole is a really positive one. I think people are really close. It's kind of a close-knit community, especially the breeds, the breeds themselves.
Tell me about the kind of people you meet at these sorts of shows.
I would say there's a lot of very driven people that compete, a lot of very competitive people. The people are for the most part, are very, very kind. They're very supportive of each other, and they're, of course, very, they love their dogs, dearly, and it shows both outside and inside the ring. There's a lot of characters, of course, and Lenny and I definitely try to stand out in terms of, being recognized, not to be flashy or anything like that, but just the fact that we have a pretty unique kind of story, and the fact that I do those different sports, and I show Lenny as well as an owner handler. I'm not a professional handler or anything like that. I think it's a pretty unique kind of combination, and people definitely, know, not everybody knows who we are, of course, but I think we've definitely made a name for ourselves thus far, and I think in a very positive light. We try to be very supportive of everyone else. We've got to know a lot of dogs at these shows, especially Boston Terriers, and it's funny. I remember dogs' names much easier than I remember people's names, so it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, you're so and so's mom, or you're so and so's dad.
In the Boston Terrier community, do you think there's any truth to the kind of stereotype of people looking like their dogs?
I think that people generally will pick, will pick dogs who somewhat resemble them, right, in terms of appearance as well as kind of personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very true. Not with everyone, but like if you looked at Lenny and you looked at me, I'd say there's definitely a lot of similarities there. Whenever I post any photos on like Lenny's Facebook page, people are like, you guys look like twins except for the glasses, like put some glasses on Lenny, and that's pretty much Joe.
Yeah, seriously. Why doesn't Lenny have glasses?
I know. I actually posted today on his Facebook. He was wearing some Harry Potter glasses, so we did get him some glasses. I'm gonna have to do a side-by-side comparison there, but it's really uncanny, and I think there's definitely something behind that in terms, why we choose dogs that look similar and kind of have similar personalities to us.
Did you have to learn how to run in the ring with him the way handlers do? Absolutely.
Yes, there's lots of training that goes into this. I could never just kind of step into the ring with him and show, like he's been taken to many classes.
Are they classes specifically for dogs who are going to be in the show ring?
So there are certain training classes that do help you in showing your dog. There's a lot of he's been to, obedience classes. He's been to so many different classes that, and just continuously working on your craft, just like any other, sport or activity. After a while, things become, I don't want to say second nature, but things become, easier with time in terms of, getting back in the ring and showing, properly to the judge. And, Lenny is definitely very, very well trained. He's very obedient. He's got different titles in agility, rally, trick dog, fast cat, and obedience. And he's also going for his therapy dog certification right now. So the training classes are both for the dog and for the handler as well. Everything's, done in a very positive light, which I totally agree with.
Do you have any mentors in this wild world?
Yes. For one, my wife, definitely. My wife is a fantastic owner handler. And like I said, she has shown Lenny many times as well, and she's done a fantastic job and kind of handed the reins over to me exclusively so that I can show Lenny, just him and I. I've learned so much from her. And there are a few other people that I have learned from, and there's a woman, Tracy, at the Silver City dog training facility that I go to in Taunton, Mass, and she's been fantastic as well, in terms of, giving me plenty of tips and, giving constructive criticism and just continuing to work with me to make sure that, that I'm fully prepared when I go in the ring with Lenny.
Tell me a little bit how you've been able to grow Lenny's following.
Oh, sure. So we did it organically, not spending nearly any money at all in any ads on Facebook. I know Facebook ads are very underpriced in terms of attention, but I wanted to do it organically, right? So in December of last year, so less than 3 months ago, created a Facebook page for Lenny. And I wanted to basically bring everyone along with us on kind of the road to Westminster, right? So, and I feel like the bond that Lenny and I have, is really one of a kind. I feel like we've done something special that not many duos have done before, and which is to create a community, within about 2.5 month time frame leading up to Westminster. We now have 8,100 friends. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I have 8,000 followers." Well, we don't consider the people on, Team Lenny as followers. We consider all of them friends. We keep it really, really. It feels like a close-knit community, like a very close-knit community, even though it's over 8,000 now, which is incredible over 2.5 months. And I think it's really difficult to get people to join your page, and we're very, and we've done that, like I said, organically. I think people can tell that we're really genuine in our approach. I absolutely love this dog to pieces, and I think people just kind of gravitate towards dogs more than a page that is just dedicated to a person. I feel like people find kind of common ground, and we're very, very engaging with our 8,000 plus friends in this community. We brought everyone along for the ride, from training for the show to the actual show itself, going live on Facebook weekly now. So we have a weekly show that we do on Facebook and Instagram now, live. And we're giving everyone kind of an insider's look at the entire process leading up to the show. And I think people really, really appreciated it. And I think everyone knows about the Westminster Dog Show. They just, most people, I think, have never actually known a dog, personally. And we wanted to give people that, that experience, and from there, now that Westminster's over, it's crazy because everyone has stuck with us in this community, and we continue to engage with everyone, and we continue to provide value to people, and and brighten people's day, and we share photos with each other in posts. And like I said, it was built not only to highlight the Boston Terrier in a positive light, but to also show how versatile the breed is, how dedication, hard work, and really loving the process, as well as who you're working with, can aid in accomplishing something great. And I think a lot of people gravitate towards that.
So I know when you're not showing off your dog or your body, you do IT work. But is there a professional path, you think, for you in either of those worlds? Is there like a career trajectory that you're eyeballing?
That's a great question. So I have my full-time job here, which I absolutely love. It is truly a passion of mine. The work that I'm doing here within the IT field, working for a very large real estate investment company, and they've been fantastic to me. I absolutely love this company, and I give 100% every single day when I come into work. I'm just really looking forward to come to work every day. However, when I get out of work, I am working on Lenny's page, and I'm interacting, and I'm replying to all the comments, replying to hundreds of comments a day, because I want to continue engaging with people. I want people to know that I really care, not only about Lenny, but I care about them, and I appreciate their time that they've taken. They could be doing anything else. They could be on anybody else's page, or out doing any activity that interests them, and they're taking the time out of their day to either to comment or like, or do engage somehow within the community, and I want to return the favor, just because I'm so grateful for it. So in terms of kind of parlaying it to a full-time job, not sure if that would ever happen, but we've been able, now that we have a platform of 8,000 plus friends on Facebook and over 2,000 on Instagram, that we're now raising money for different charities. So we just worked with MIT, the university, and Lenny did a photo shoot, which is we drove to Boston to do a photo shoot there. So he's going to be in a calendar by the MIT by an MIT sorority, and they come up with a calendar that's called the Good Boys of Boston, and the subsequent calendar is going to be raising money for Alzheimer's research. So all the proceeds, or the proceeds from the sale of that calendar, is going to go to Alzheimer's research, which is phenomenal. We're also doing we also created a store, like an online store. We had a great friend of ours who is a digital artist create a kind of cartoonized version of Lenny, and leading up to Westminster, we sold shirts and mugs and things like that, which people have been purchasing, which we're so grateful for, and that money is going towards a Boston Terrier rescue, actually.
Neat. Huh.
So we're able to do a lot of great things. We're actually trying to work with a very large organization right now to raise money in a new fundraiser for them, for children with rare diseases. So we're currently working on that as well. We can't wait to unveil that. But we just feel like this is kind of the start of things to come, and we feel like we can do a lot of really good things in this world with this really positive community.
So I know he went to Westminster, but how did he end up doing?
He did really well. We got a lot of fantastic feedback, even from professional handlers, saying that we definitely looked like we belonged there. Lenny was laser focused on me, and I him, saying that he moved really well. He looked a lot younger than he actually is. And kind of a fun fact about Lenny showing at Westminster, he was actually the oldest Boston Terrier this year to compete at Westminster out of all 24 Boston Terriers.
Huh. That's 6 years old.
So he was the oldest. He was the oldest by 18 months, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So in addition to that, he was actually the only Boston Terrier to also have performance titles as well.
What does that mean?
It means in addition to having show dog titles, so Lenny, like I say, is a grand champion. He has titles on the other end of his name, which are performance titles, including agility, fast cat, and trick dog titles.
Okay. And
meaning that he's he's done really well in the performance ring, and really well within the show ring. And again, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the two of us there. I'm in bodybuilding and I'm in powerlifting. It's I mean, it's almost identical. It's really and I think that's why we continue to do this, with each other. And I feel like we really motivate each other, to keep going and to try to be better and to refine our skills and to do, and to continue following our passions. I try not to do anything that I don't have a passion for, and anything I do, I put 100% into it.
So did he?
Oh, he did not. So okay, so in terms of placing, you only know how once you exit the ring, they only choose the top 5 dogs to the top 5 of each breed receives a ribbon or so we did not place in the top 5, unfortunately, but that's okay. I felt like we did really well. However, there were a lot of things that I could have done differently to improve my chances of placing in the top 5. I know what I did, wrong, and I received some constructive, feedback, and we are actually going to be competing next year. We're going to make one more run at Westminster 2020 actually.
What do you think you could do better next time?
There were several things in terms of putting Lenny up on the table where the judge comes over and they're able to get a really close look at your dog. So I think I put him up on the table too soon, and at that point he was maybe leaning over the edge of the table a bit too much, where he should have been kind of nice and square, right? And so I could have done a better job there. I feel like Lenny did pretty much everything right. It was me that's giving Lenny the guidance, and there were a lot of there were things that obviously, since I didn't place on top 5, that I could have done better. There were other things where instead of me keeping Lenny kind of tighter on the lead or closer to me, he likes to be let go a little bit. He likes to get out in front and be able to show off his nice gait that he has, right? And I don't think that I put him in the best possible position to do that. So that's on me, and that's something that I'm continuing to work on, and that will improve the next time we step in the ring.
So if people want to learn more about you and Lenny, where should they go?
You can go to Facebook and search for Lenny the Boston, and you'll see the Facebook page. And you can, if you like it, you can. It allows you to follow the page, and then you'll be a member of our awesome community, and we would greatly appreciate that. You can also find him on Instagram. His Instagram handle is puppy, so it's puppy_kid, so puppy_kid, KID.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, Joe.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really greatly appreciate it.
Our WWOOF shout out today goes to my favorite Boston Terrier, whose name is Reggie. Reggie started coming to school for the dogs when he was just the tiniest, cutest little puppy. I believe that was 5 years ago. He was one of the first regulars in our day school program, and he has a lot of fans at school for the dogs. A couple of years ago, he had to get a very risky surgery because he had some very bad cataracts, and they weren't sure the surgery was going to work, and we ended up doing all kinds of training with him to help him be prepared for a life without vision. But the surgery ended up being successful, and now, from what I can understand, he sees quite well. He recently moved uptown, and we miss him a whole lot. He does occasionally come visit us at School for the Dogs, and we're hopeful that he'll move back downtown soon. And fun dog fact of the day. Actually, I have 2 fun dog facts. Actually, I can think of 3 fun dog facts about Boston Terriers. One is they're not actually terriers. And the other 2 are things that I learned from the website, the Boston Terrier Club of America.org. One is that before they were called Bostons in the mid to late 1800s, they were actually called Roundheads. And the other is that several of the first female Boston Terriers, the first bitches, were named Kate, which is a fact I like because that is my better half at School for the Dogs, Kate Sinisi. I can't say I've ever met a dog named Kate before, but if you have a Boston and are looking for a good name, Kate is a name that's actually quite important to the breed. Who knew? Thanks so much for listening. You can support School for the Dogs podcast by telling your friends about it, leaving a review, or shopping in our online store. You can learn more about us and sign up to get lots of free training resources when you visit us online at schoolforthedogs.com.